Since October of 1859, the people that lived around a little village then called Robinsonville in Kewaunee County, they remembered an apparition that took place that was received by the visionary Adele Brice. That on October 9th of 1859, the Blessed Virgin appeared for a second and a third time to this young woman named Adele and spoke a message. So October 9th has always been the anniversary of the day of that message. In recent years, that anniversary at the shrine in Champion has been marked with some great solemnity, and this Monday will mark the first time of celebrating the feast of Our Lady of Champion, permission that was granted for such a celebration by Rome. So the shrine in Champion is a very special place where the Mother of God gave a message. And today we heard at the very end of our gospel that the kingdom of God would be given to a people that will produce it fruit. And as I think about the kingdom of God be given to one who produced fruit, I think of this visionary Adele. She came over to the United States in the 1850s. At the age of 24, she labored with her family as an immigrant family in the communities that began to form. And in 1859, during those fall days, she was taking a sack of wheat to the local grist mill. And it was on that first occasion that she saw the Blessed Mother, and then a few days later, seeing her for a second and a third time. Adele labored throughout her life to produce fruit for the kingdom of heaven. God called this young woman who at the age of 28, much different than the Fatima children or Saint Bernadette, but she receives this message, this call from God through the Blessed Virgin. She was handicapped. She could not see out of one of her eyes, her face slightly disfigured from an accident with lye. She was uneducated. She did not complete school. But yet, this uneducated woman chosen by God to teach the faith to others, because the Lord saw that she was smart in his ways. So the kingdom of heaven will be given to a people that will produce its fruit. Adele received this message, and when Mary appeared to her, she asked the woman that she was seeing, "Well, in God's name, who are you, and what do you want of me?" And Mary said, "I'm the Queen of Heaven who prays for the conversion of sinners, and I wish you to do the same. You received Holy Communion this morning, and that is well, but you must do more. Make a general confession and offer your communion for the conversion of sinners. For if they do not do penance, my Son will be obliged to punish them." Adele that day had two young other women, one a sister, another a neighbor that was with her. And they spoke up and they said, "Adele, who is it? Why can't we see her as you do?" And Adele said to them, "Kneel, the woman says she's the Queen of Heaven." So they knelt, and Mary quoted the words of her son from the scriptures and said, "Blessed are those who believe without seeing." And then Mary asked Adele a question. She said, "Why are you standing here in idleness while your companions are working in the vineyard of my son?" Adele began to weep, and she said, "Well, what am I to do?" And Mary said to her, "Well, gather the children, teach them." And she said, "Well, what should I teach them?" And Mary said, "Well, teach them what they need to know for salvation. Teach them their catechism, how to make the sign of the cross and how to approach the sacraments. This is what I wish you to do. Go and fear nothing, and I will help you." So it seems that at the end of our gospel today, that the kingdom of heaven will be given to those that will produce its fruit. Well, there are a few different ways that Adele produced fruit for the kingdom of heaven. Well, the first was joining the Blessed Mother in prayer. Mary said, "I am the Queen of Heaven who prays for the conversion of sinners, and I wish you to do the same." And so Adele, in that very moment, joining her prayer to that of the woman from heaven who was appearing before her. So she produced fruit for the kingdom by praying for conversion. And then the second way, Adele and others, really, so not only can Adele produce fruit for the kingdom, but all of us can do what she did. And so Mary said, "Offer your Holy Communion for the conversion of sinners." And so, presumably, Adele, who would go to Mass every Sunday and maybe even more often, that she began doing exactly what Our Lady said. That at the moment when she was coming up for communion, maybe thought of someone whose conversion she wanted to pray for, or praying collectively for the conversion of sinners. So through prayer, she was able to produce fruit for the kingdom of heaven. And the third way was really through the labors that she undertook. Mary told her, "Gather the children and teach them what they need to know for salvation, how to make the sign of the cross and all those other things." And so to teach, to catechize, to instruct. And so for the rest of her life, Adele labored to do that. She went around that area where the shrine is, now in Champion, and walking within maybe a 25, 50-mile radius, knocking on the doors of strangers, asking to teach their children. She labored to produce fruit for the kingdom of heaven. She did so by responding to this message that Mary gave her. And then today in our second reading, St. Paul in his letter to the Philippians says, "Have no anxiety at all," he says, "but make your prayers known to God, persevering in prayer. Have no anxiety at all." Well, these are words that Adele heard Mary spoke, because Mary said to her, "Go and fear nothing, for I will help you." Go and fear nothing. Have no anxiety. Adele, who was to go out and to teach those children, who then forms a religious institute of sisters, who starts a school, all of these things that she did, have no anxiety at all. You don't have enough money to feed the children, but God will provide. And so they prayed and food came. And then there was October 8th of 1871, where the fire of Peshtigo breaks out and is said to have carried across the body of water and began to threaten that area. And so have no anxiety at all, St. Paul says. Mary said to Adele, "Go and fear nothing." So even in the midst of fire standing before it, fear nothing. And what did they do? They prayed, they persevered, they made their request known to God. Only on the morning of October 9th, the very anniversary day, to realize that the fire had passed over them, that they had been preserved, and that the shrine there, the chapel, the convent, the school, had been protected. And so people today hear the words of Our Lady who said, "Go and fear nothing." They hear what St. Paul said, "Have no anxiety at all." Because people today go to this shrine in Champion, as they will on Monday. They go on pilgrimage in hope of an answered prayer, that they have some desperate need. They light their votive candles, they pray their rosaries, and they hear Our Lady say those same words. "Go and fear nothing, I will help you." This message that Mary spoke so many years ago in 1859 to Adele, which will be remembered by the local church in Green Bay on Monday, well, it's really a message about producing fruit for the kingdom of heaven, the fruit of praying for conversion, of offering our Holy Communion, of teaching others. But maybe, too, the fruit that we can produce for the kingdom of heaven would be the conversion of our own minds and hearts and souls.